Hi dear students, today we'll be talking about larynx. Larynx or voice box is well developed in humans. It is kept patent because of the cartilages. So the larynx structure is mainly of cartilage. So that makes it patent so that it always open and the air can pass through. One adult breathing is about 15 centimeter per minute. So adult breathe 15 times in a minute. Now, larynx is the organ of production of voice or phonation. Production of voice that occurs in the larynx. At the same time, it is also an air passage and act as a sphincter at the inlet of lower respiratory passages. So here it can act as a sphincter as well to the air passage. The air from the larynx goes into the trachea. So let's see the larynx position. This area is the larynx. Larynx continues as the trachea. This area is the larynx. Larynx will continue down as trachea. Situation and the extent of the larynx. So in the adult male, it is lying in front of third to sixth cervical vertebrae. So the location is in front on the adult male. It is in front of third to sixth cervical vertebra. So let's see the vertebrae here. The first cervical vertebra, second, third, third to sixth, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the area where the larynx is located. The area behind the larynx, this can be called as laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx will continue down as esophagus. So the extent is from the third to sixth cervical vertebra. Whereas in adult female, it lies at a little higher level. The length of the larynx is around 44 millimeter in males and 36 millimeter in females. So definitely the length is more in males. Now at the time of puberty, male larynx grows rapidly and becomes larger than female larynx. So the growth of larynx after puberty is little more in males than the females. That is the reason why the males have a low pitch voice. This is an anterior view of the larynx. We can see that the larynx is made of a lot of cartilages. We are going to see all the cartilages. So anterior view and the posterior view. Hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage can be seen in the anterior view, followed by the cartilages of the trachea. We know that the larynx is going to continue down as the trachea. The larynx is made of skeletal framework of cartilages, as I mentioned before. The larynx contains 9 cartilages, of which 3 are unpaired and 3 are paired. So there are 9 cartilages in this, 3 are paired and 3 are unpaired. A posterior view of the cartilages, epiglottis, cricoid, thyroid, arytenoid cartilages can be seen in this diagram. The unpaired cartilages are thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, epiglottis. The paired cartilages are, so the paired cartilages are seen on both sides. They are arytenoid cartilage Arytenoid cartilage can be seen from the posterior aspect. Corniculate cartilage, which is above the arytenoid cartilage. Cuneiform cartilages are present above the corniculate cartilage. In this diagram it is not there, but they are present in the aryepiglottic fold. We will talk about that later. So we have unpaired and paired cartilages, an anterior and posterior view of the cartilages. An oblique view of the cartilages with the hyoid bone can be seen. Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and these are the cartilages of the trachea. Thyroid cartilage consists of right and left lamina. So there are two laminas, right and left laminas, or you can say a plate of cartilages. They are joined at the center anteriorly, whereas posteriorly they are open. Each lamina is roughly quadrilateral. It's almost quadrilateral in shape. The posterior border is far apart, where we can see that the posterior aspect of each lamina, they are far apart, but the anterior borders approach with each other at an angle which is about 90 degree in the males, whereas in females it becomes 120 degree. So the angle formed between the two lamina of thyroid cartilages, that is when they are meeting in the anterior median plane, that's around 90 degree in males, whereas 120 degree in females. So there is a difference here. So this is the area where the two lamina meets. Again, we can see that the posterior border, the anterior border of each lamina, and the posterior border is again prolonged upwards and downwards. The lower parts of the anterior borders of the right and left lamina fuse and form a median projection called laryngeal prominence. So the anterior part of the lamina, where they are fusing, and they fuse in such a way that it forms a 90 degree in males and 120 degree in females, and it makes a prominence in this area, and that's called laryngeal prominence. It's also called as Adam's apple, which is very prominent because of the acute angle which is formed in males. That's around 90 degree, and that becomes very prominent in males, whereas in females it's not so prominent because the angle here is around 120 degree, so it's not prominent. The upper parts of the anterior borders do not meet, whereas if you look at carefully, we can see that the lower part of the anterior border, this area, they meet to form the laryngeal prominence, whereas the upper border they don't meet. Because of that, there is a notch that appears here, and this notch is called thyroid notch. So the fusion is not complete even in the anterior aspect. The lower part fuses, but the upper part do not meet with each other, and that remains, or that because of that a notch forms here, and that is thyroid notch. Can be seen from anterior and posterior aspect of the thyroid cartilage. The posterior border are free while comparing to the anterior border, because anterior border they fuse with each other, whereas the posterior border do not fuse. They are free, but they are prolonged upwards, as we can see here, and downwards, as the superior and inferior cornua, or the horns of thyroid cartilage. So the posterior border is prolonged upwards to form the superior cornua, inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. When we see that the inferior horn is going to joined or going to form joined with the cricoid cartilage, that can be seen here, it is meeting with the cricoid cartilage. Whereas the upper border is attached to some ligament, and this ligament is called thyrohyoid ligament. Thyrohyoid ligament connecting the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. But the superior hornua is connected to the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. So hyoid bone has got a greater cornua and a lesser cornua, and the body. So the greater cornua is connected with the superior horn of the thyroid cartilage, and this ligament is lateral thyrohyoid ligament, in which we can see a small cartilage, and that's called cartilage trichtesia, can be seen in this ligament. Whereas the lower part is joining with the cricoid cartilage, as we have seen. So this is the lateral thyrohyoid ligament connecting thyroid cartilage with the hyoid bone. The inferior cornua articulates with the cricoid cartilage to form cricothyroid joint. This can be explained better in this diagram, that this is the joint which is formed between the thyroid and the cricoid cartilage, cricothyroid joint. Inferior border of thyroid cartilage is connected to the cricoid cartilage by cricothyroid ligament. There are ligaments which are connecting thyroid cartilage inferior border with the cricoid cartilage. This is called cricothyroid ligament. So this can be seen here, cricothyroid ligament connecting the inferior border of thyroid cartilage to the cricoid cartilage, cricothyroid ligaments. Now, which has two parts: a median cricothyroid ligament along the midline, that is thickening of cricothyroid membrane. So it can be divided into two parts: the cricothyroid ligament, a median one, which is called as a median cricothyroid ligament, which can be seen in this diagram again, median cricothyroid ligament, and the lateral one, which is called lateral cricothyroid ligament. Now let's see these ligaments from the medial aspect. So here we can see the lateral cricothyroid ligament, which is connecting the lower part of thyroid cartilage to the cricoid cartilage, and this ligament is also called as conus elasticus. So this is an interior view of the lateral cricothyroid ligament. So this is median and this is the lateral cricothyroid ligament. When we see from the inner aspect, it looks like this, and that's called conus elasticus. Conus elasticus, the upper part is forming, it is thickened to form vocal ligament. The outer surface of each lamina is marked by oblique line. So the thyroid cartilage, the outer aspect, there is a prominence here called oblique line, which is extending from superior thyroid tubercle, which is a prominence in this area, in front of the root of superior cornua. So this is a prominence which is seen in front of superior cornua, a prominence in the thyroid cartilage, which is called superior thyroid tubercle, to the inferior thyroid tubercle, that is behind the middle of inferior border. So almost the middle of inferior border, there is a tubercle again here, that is inferior thyroid tubercle, and the line which is connecting the superior thyroid tubercle to the inferior thyroid tubercle is called oblique line, which is seen on the thyroid cartilage outer area. Next, let's see cricoid cartilage. So oblique view of cricoid cartilage. Anteriorly, cricoid cartilage is thin, posteriorly it is thick. Cartilage is shaped like a ring. It encircles the larynx below the cricoid cartilage. The location of this cartilage is below the cricoid cartilage, and it is thicker, stronger than the thyroid cartilage. So the location is below the thyroid cartilage and it is thicker than the thyroid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage can be seen, and below that cricoid cartilage. Even though the size is smaller than the thyroid cartilage, it is stronger than the size of the cricoid cartilage is smaller than the thyroid cartilage, but it is thicker and strong. The ring has a narrow anterior part which is called as the arch, and a broad posterior part that's called lamina. So the lamina seen posteriorly and arch is seen anteriorly. A posterior view where the thyroid cartilage can be seen, and below that cricoid cartilage. The lamina projects upwards behind the thyroid cartilage and articulates superiorly with arytenoid cartilage. So thyroid cartilage can be seen here anteriorly and superiorly, whereas cricoid cartilage, the posterior part is called the lamina, that is projecting upwards, and it is seen behind the thyroid cartilage, and superiorly it is articulating with the arytenoid cartilages. So anterior view where the arch of the cricoid cartilage and the lamina posteriorly articulating with the arytenoid cartilage. Another view where the cricoid cartilage can be seen. This is a picture after removing one lamina of the thyroid cartilage, and the cricoid cartilage can be seen. Arytenoid cartilage is resting on the cricoid cartilage. Another view where the arch of the cricoid cartilage and the lamina of the cricoid cartilage can be seen, and arytenoid cartilage is resting on the lamina of cricoid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage, one lamina has been removed and showing the inner aspect where the arch of the cricoid cartilage and the lamina can be seen. Arytenoid cartilage is resting on that. Again, a lateral view of the cricoid cartilage, arch of the cricoid cartilage and the lamina of cricoid cartilage can be seen. So laterally we cannot appreciate the arytenoid cartilage, it is seen interior, and it is visible from the posterior aspect or after removing one lamina of thyroid cartilage. Now the next cartilage is epiglottis or epiglottic cartilage. It is a leaf-like cartilage, and it is placed in the anterior wall of upper part of larynx. So it is located in the anterior wall of the larynx, and it is attached to the thyroid cartilage below the posterior surface of the thyroid cartilage. So this is the epiglottis from the anterolateral view, forming the anterior wall of the larynx. Its upper end is broad and free. Upper part is broader while the lower part is narrow, and the upper part is projecting upwards beyond the level of hyoid bone. So the upper part of the epiglottis is projecting upwards than the level of the hyoid bone. And the tongue is located very close to the epiglottis, a posterior view of the epiglottis of the larynx, where the epiglottis is attached to the thyroid cartilage, posterior aspect of the thyroid cartilage, and it is projecting upwards than the level of hyoid bone can be seen. The lower end of the stalk, this is called a stalk, is pointed and is attached to the upper part of angle between the two lamina of thyroid cartilage. So it is attached to the angle, it is posteriorly. So posterior aspect of the angle of the thyroid cartilage. You know, the angle of thyroid cartilage is the area where the two lamina meets. So this is the pointed part of stalk. This is stalk of epiglottis, anterior and posterior aspect. The right and left margin of epiglottis provides attachment to aryepiglottic folds. Aryepiglottic fold is a fold or a connective tissue that is connecting the epiglottis with the arytenoid cartilage. So this is connecting the epiglottis lateral aspect to the arytenoid cartilage. So this is aryepiglottic fold. So this picture we can understand that this is the lamina of cricoid cartilage posterior view can be seen in this picture. And this is the arytenoid cartilage and epiglottis here. So the arytenoid cartilage is connected to the epiglottis, and this is the aryepiglottic fold. So in this we can see that the cartilages are covered by the mucous membrane, and you can see this ligament here, or the fold here, that is aryepiglottic fold. The thyroid cartilage also can be seen. Another view where the epiglottis is connected to the posterior aspect of thyroid cartilage can be seen. The posterior surface is covered with mucous membrane. The posterior surface of the epiglottis is covered by the mucous membrane. As we can see here, this is the epiglottis anterior aspect and the posterior aspect. So posterior aspect is covered by the mucous membrane. Its anterior surface is connected. So whereas the anterior surface is connected to some structures, as we can see here, anterior surface is connected to the hyoid bone through a ligament called hyoepiglottic ligament. Hyoepiglottic ligament that is connecting the epiglottis to the hyoid bone, whereas the posterior surface is covered with mucous membrane. We can also see the aryepiglottic fold here, connecting the epiglottis with the arytenoid cartilages. This is the relation of tongue with the epiglottis. The anterior surface of the epiglottis is having a close relation with the tongue. So the epiglottis is connected to the tongue by median glossoepiglottic ligament and lateral glossoepiglottic ligaments. So there are two lateral glossoepiglottic ligament and a single median glossoepiglottic ligament. So this is the anterior surface of the epiglottis. Here the cricoid cartilage can be seen. Arytenoid cartilages are resting on the cricoid cartilage. Arytenoid cartilage. These are two small pyramidal or pyramid shaped cartilage lying on the upper border of lamina of cricoid cartilage. So they are lying on the posterior aspect of cricoid cartilage, on the lamina of cricoid cartilage. They are pyramid shaped structures, almost triangular, having apex and base. Base is resting on the cricoid cartilage. The apex of the arytenoid cartilage is curved posteromedially and articulates with corniculate cartilage. So arytenoid cartilage has got two articulation. Above it is articulating with corniculate cartilage, which are small cartilages. We will be seeing it. And at the base it is resting on base is resting on cricoid cartilage. Base is concave and articulates with lateral part of upper border of cricoid lamina. And it's prolonged anteriorly to form the vocal process. The base has got a elongation of processes. Anteriorly there is a process that's called vocal process, and laterally it is projected, and lateral projection is called muscular process. The anterior process or vocal process, and lateral one, that is muscular process. So this is the vocal process and the muscular process. The vocal process facing anteriorly and the muscular process facing laterally, and the base is resting on the cricoid cartilage. Above the arytenoid cartilage, the corniculate cartilage also can be seen. Above that, cuneiform cartilages are also seen. They are seen in the aryepiglottic fold. Corniculate cartilage, they are small conical nodules. They are articulating with apex of arytenoid cartilage. So apex of arytenoid cartilage is articulating with the corniculate cartilage. These are the other diagrams where we can see it clearly. The arytenoid cartilage is resting on the cricoid cartilage, and the base is resting on the muscular process. So the vocal process and the muscular process, both are resting on the cricoid cartilage. The arytenoid cartilage is resting on the cricoid cartilage. Corniculate cartilage is resting on the arytenoid cartilage. Cuneiform cartilages, they are small rod shaped cartilages. They are like rods. And they are placed in aryepiglottic fold. Aryepiglottic fold is a fold that is connecting arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis. So in this fold that is represented here, this one, there are some elevations, and they are because of cuneiform cartilages. This is the fold that is formed between the epiglottis and the arytenoid cartilage here. So here the fold is not visible, but you can see the membrane here, and we will talk about this later. So over this there is a mucous membrane, and that forms the aryepiglottic fold, which is seen on the upper aspect of the quadrangular membrane. In fact, the quadrangular membrane, the upper part of the quadrangular membrane is thickened to form aryepiglottic fold. Now let's talk about the histology of laryngeal cartilages. Now how histologically they look like. Thyroid and the cricoid cartilages and the basal part of the arytenoid cartilages. So thyroid, cricoid cartilage and the basal part of arytenoid cartilage, they are made of hyaline cartilage, and they may ossify after the age of 25 years. So there is a chance that these cartilages can get ossified, or it can slowly convert into a bone. The other cartilages of the larynx, like the epiglottis, corniculate cartilage, cuneiform cartilages and the apical portion of arytenoid cartilage, they are made of elastic cartilage and they do not ossify. So arytenoid cartilage is made of two type of cartilages. The base is hyaline variety and the apex is elastic of type. Laryngeal ligaments and membranes. So in the larynx we are going to see a lot of membranes, different membranes and the ligaments which are connecting these above said cartilages, and that forms the structural framework of the larynx. So it can be divided into extrinsic ligament, and they are thyrohyoid membrane. Thyrohyoid membrane is connecting thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. Again, thyroid membrane can be seen connecting the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. Thyroid membrane connects thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. Its median and lateral parts are thickened to form median and lateral thyrohyoid ligaments. So there is thickening in the median aspect, that's called median thyrohyoid ligament, laterally lateral thyrohyoid ligament. The membrane is pierced by internal laryngeal nerves and the superior laryngeal vessels. So there is a defect in the membrane here, and that has been, or that's allowing some structures to pass through that. They are the internal laryngeal nerves, which are branches of vagus nerve, and the superior laryngeal vessels, which are branches of the superior thyroid artery. So here the thyroid cartilage and the hyoid bone can be seen, and they are connected by thyroid membrane, and there is a defect inside that or in the membrane, and where the internal laryngeal nerve and the superior laryngeal vessels passes into the larynx. And this is the area where the air is going to pass through, and this is the inlet of the larynx. You can see that posterior surface of the epiglottis is the area which we are talking about, and the inlet of larynx. And the ligaments, the next ligament, that is hyoepiglottic ligament, that is connecting the upper end of epiglottic cartilage to the hyoid bone. So that's a other ligament. The third one is cricotracheal ligament. Cricotracheal ligament is connecting the cricoid cartilage to the upper end of trachea. So we know that the larynx is continuing as a trachea, which has the cartilages, tracheal cartilages, C-shaped cartilages. So there's a ligament that is connecting the cricoid cartilage to the trachea, that's cricotracheal ligament. Now let's talk about the intrinsic ligaments. So we have seen the extrinsic ligament and the intrinsic ligament. So the extrinsic ligaments are the ligaments which are connecting the cartilages of the larynx with some structures which are not a part of the larynx. Right? We have seen that some ligaments are connecting the cartilages to the trachea. In this we have seen it is connected to the hyoid bone, right? So these are examples of extrinsic ligaments. Now when we see the intrinsic ligaments are the ligaments, they are going to connect the cartilages. They are connected within the cartilages of the larynx. So that's the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic ligaments. Let's see the intrinsic ligaments. So they are part of broadsheet of fibroelastic tissue. They are made up of fibroelastic tissue known as the fibroelastic membrane of the larynx. So they are confined within the larynx. They do not cross the larynx and goes. But whereas extrinsic ligaments, they cross the larynx and goes attached to the other structures which are not a part of the larynx, like we have seen to the hyoid bone, to the trachea, and so on. Let's see the intrinsic ligament, and this membrane is placed beneath the mucous membrane. That's seen beneath the mucous membrane, or you can say that these membranes are covered by the mucous membrane. So this is one example of that membrane here. And the upper part is a quadrangular membrane. So this membrane can be divided into some parts, like upper part is quadrangular membrane and lower part is cricothyroid ligament, which is connecting the cricoid cartilage to the thyroid cartilage. So cricoid cartilage to thyroid cartilage, so that is the cricothyroid ligament, and above it is quadrangular membrane. And its lower part, the lateral cricothyroid ligament, also can be seen here, right, this one. So we have the membrane, fibroelastic membrane, which is divided into two parts, quadrangular membrane and a lateral cricothyroid ligament. We will get more clarity as we go through the next slides. So first let's talk about quadrangular membrane. The quadrangular membrane can be seen in this area. So passes from the lateral margin of epiglottis to the ipsilateral arytenoid cartilage. So they connect the lateral aspect of the epiglottis to the arytenoid cartilage. So quadrangular membrane, different views can be seen connecting the epiglottis to the arytenoid cartilage. This is quadrangular membrane. The upper border slopes posteriorly to form aryepiglottic ligament. I already mentioned that the upper part of the quadrangular membrane that is thickened to form aryepiglottic ligament connecting the epiglottis to the tip of arytenoid cartilage, which constitute the central component of aryepiglottic fold. So this ligament is the thickening of the quadrangular membrane, and over this ligament we will have the mucous membrane which is covering it, and all together it forms aryepiglottic fold. That can be seen here. The aryepiglottic ligament is covered by the mucous membrane in this, and that forms the aryepiglottic fold. The lower border of the quadrangular membrane forms the vestibular ligament, whereas the lower aspect of the quadrangular membrane is forming, or it's thickened to form vestibular ligament. Now this is the quadrangular membrane, the lower part. We know that it's connected to the arytenoid cartilage. Posteriorly and anteriorly it is connected to the epiglottis, lower aspect of the epiglottis, or you can say it is connected to the thyroid cartilage, the posterior aspect of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. So this is a connection where you can see the quadrangular membrane is ending, or it is thickened, and when it is thickened it connects to the thyroid cartilage, anteriorly, and posteriorly it is connected to the arytenoid cartilage, and that forms the vestibular ligament. So another diagram where you can see the different membranes here. The lateral cricothyroid ligament can be seen connecting the thyroid cartilage to the cricoid cartilage. Cricothyroid membrane passes upwards from the upper border of cricoid cartilage to the lower border of thyroid cartilage. Anteriorly it is thickened to form median cricothyroid ligament. So anterior aspect of this ligament that forms the median cricothyroid ligament, as we have seen here. This is the median cricothyroid ligament, which is the thickened part of the cricothyroid membrane. So this is the median cricothyroid ligament, and lateral cricothyroid ligament can be seen. And this is the area where we have already seen the quadrangular membrane and the thickening of it, lower aspect, forming the vestibular ligament. This area, vestibular ligament, can be seen. Anyway, we are talking about this ligament now. This is it's a part of actually cricothyroid membrane, and this is called conus elasticus or lateral cricothyroid ligament. So lateral cricothyroid ligament, this is a view from the anterior aspect, but when we see from the inner aspect, the exact position of lateral cricothyroid ligament is here. This is anterior cricothyroid ligament or median cricothyroid ligament, and this is lateral cricothyroid ligament. We have seen that it is connected, or it is going to the lower aspect of thyroid cartilage. In fact, it is going beyond the inferior border of thyroid cartilage, and it goes medially. It goes medially, and it is attached. It is attached to the arytenoid cartilage posteriorly and anteriorly to the inner aspect of thyroid cartilage. And this area, the upper aspect of this membrane, is thickened to form vocal ligament. Vocal ligament. So again, we can see in this diagram that the upper part of lateral cricothyroid ligament, which is moving upwards medially, and it is thickened in this area, which is connected now, or it is connecting the thyroid cartilage anteriorly and posteriorly to the arytenoid cartilage, specifically speaking the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage, and it forms the vocal ligament. And this part is called conus elasticus. Conus elasticus. So extending from the inner surface of cricoid cartilage. So it is extending from the inner surface of the cricoid cartilage that we have already seen, and near its lower margin, and it passes upwards beneath the lower border of thyroid cartilages. Right? It passes beyond the lower border of cricoid cartilage. When I say beyond, medially, inner aspect. As you can see, inner aspect, right? This area. And it's attached anteriorly to the inner surface of the angle of the thyroid cartilage, as we saw here, and posteriorly to the tip of vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage. This is the conus elasticus or lateral cricothyroid ligament. This is the part that we are talking about. So this is a superior view, the inner aspect. Between these attachments, the upper edge of the conus elasticus is free, horizontally aligned, and thickened to form vocal ligament. So the thickening of the conus elasticus, this part, is called the vocal ligament. So we can see the vocal ligament, which is the thickened part of the conus elasticus, the upper part of the conus elasticus. And here there is another ligament, which is the thickened part of quadrangular membrane, the lower part of the quadrangular membrane. It is thickened to form vestibular ligament. So we are seeing two ligaments here, a vocal ligament, which is the thickened part of conus elasticus or cricovocal membrane, and the lower part of quadrangular membrane, which is thickened to form vestibular ligament. So this is called cricovocal membrane, or the conus elasticus. It is also called cricovocal membrane because it is connecting the cricoid cartilage below, and above it is connected, or it is forming a part of vocal ligament, or it is forming the vocal ligament. So it's called cricovocal membrane. Inlet of larynx. Inlet of larynx is here. This is the inlet of larynx. It's a posterior view, and it is wider in front than behind, and it is bounded anteriorly by the epiglottis. So epiglottis is seen on the anterior aspect, and laterally by the aryepiglottic fold. So on the lateral aspect there is aryepiglottic fold. It's a paired structure connecting the arytenoid to the epiglottis, and it is covered by the mucous membrane. So we can create the aryepiglottic ligament here connecting the epiglottis to the arytenoid cartilage on either side. The mucous membrane is going to cover that area, and posteriorly it is formed by the arytenoid cartilage. Arytenoid cartilages are located here in this area with a corniculate cartilage above. Corniculate cartilages are seen just about. The cuneiform cartilages lies within the aryepiglottic fold. So the purpose of these cartilages are to strengthen the aryepiglottic fold and produces a small elevation on the upper bottom. So it also produces an elevation in the aryepiglottic fold that we have seen already. Now we have seen the laryngeal inlet. Now the laryngeal cavity. Laryngeal cavity extends from the inlet of larynx. So this is the inlet of larynx. We have seen that inlet of larynx up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. So cricoid cartilage is here. This is a cricoid cartilage. In this picture you can see the cricoid cartilage. Right. So up to here we have the laryngeal cavity. So laryngeal cavity is extending from the inlet. Inlet is located here. From here to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. And we know that at this area the larynx will continue as the trachea. So this is the lower limit of the laryngeal cavity, larynx. So in this diagram this is the inlet of larynx. So it is extending up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. So this is anterior, where you can see the thyroid lamina, right, and the arch of cricoid cartilage and the lamina of cricoid cartilage can be seen. Now the walls of the laryngeal cavity. So this is a coronal section where we can see the cavity of the larynx. So it is the wall of the cavity are formed of the fibroelastic membrane and are lined with mucous membrane. So here we can see that it's made of the fibroelastic membrane. We have already seen that the upper part is quadrangular membrane and the lower part is the cricovocal membrane, and it is covered by the mucous membrane. We have seen that the lower part of the quadrangular membrane thickened to form the vestibular ligament, and the upper part of the cricovocal membrane that is thickened to form the vestibular ligament. We will see that. You will see how it is formed exactly like this. So this is how it looks. Once again the diagrams showing you the quadrangular membrane. The lower aspect is thickened to form the vestibular ligament, and the upper part of conus elasticus that forms the vocal ligament, thickened to form the vocal ligament. And other diagrams where the cricovocal membrane, conus elasticus, forms the vocal ligament, and this is how it looks. Now if you just imagine the mucous membrane over this ligament, it forms the vestibular ligament, and below the vocal fold. Now laryngeal folds. The first one is vestibular fold here. The mucous membrane covering the vestibular ligament is the vestibular fold. So definitely you have to imagine the thyroid cartilage also here anteriorly. So anteriorly these ligaments are attached to the thyroid cartilage, as you can see here. These are the ligaments anteriorly getting attached to the thyroid cartilage. The next ligament is next fold is vocal fold, which is mucous membrane covering the vocal ligament, forming the vocal fold. So it's a posterior view. Vestibular fold and the vocal fold divide the cavity into upper and lower parts. So the whole of the laryngeal cavity, which is starting from here up to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, is being divided by these folds into two parts, upper part and lower part. The upper folds are the vestibular fold. Vestibular fold is called the ventricular fold or false vocal folds. False vocal folds, and the space between these two folds, this area is called rima vestibuli. So the space between the two vestibular fold, in between this space where I am showing the cursor, this area is the rima vestibuli. Now the lower paired folds are vocal folds, true vocal folds, and the fissure between them is rima glottidis. So where I am showing the cursor here is the rima glottidis. So this is called the true vocal fold and this is called the false vocal fold. This is true because the voice is produced in this area. That is why it is true vocal fold. Now let's talk about rima glottidis. Rima glottidis is bounded in front by the vocal folds and behind by the medial surface of arytenoid cartilage. So I hope you remember this. You remember this rima glottidis. It's a space between the two vocal folds. So we are going to see the boundaries of it. So in front it is by the vocal fold. As you can see here, this is the area which we are talking about, the glottis, rima glottidis. In front by the vocal fold and behind by the medial surface of arytenoid cartilage. So this is the area of the arytenoid cartilage. So medial surface of arytenoid cartilage is forming the boundary posteriorly. Rima glottidis has an intermembranous portion and intercartilaginous part. So this whole area is the glottidis. So it has got two parts structurally. Anterior part where it's made of the vocal ligament, and that's called the membranous part, whereas posteriorly it is made of the cartilage. That is nothing but the medial surface of arytenoid cartilage. So this area is called the cartilaginous part. So this area what we are seeing here is the membranous part, and behind we have the cartilaginous part of the rima glottidis. The vestibular and the vocal folds divide the cavity of the larynx into three parts. So we have seen that it has been earlier said that two parts, upper part and the lower part. Again, now we are adding one more area into this part. That is, the part above the vestibular fold is called the vestibule of the larynx, this area, and the part that is between the vestibular and the vocal fold, this part is called sinus or the ventricle of the larynx, and the part that is below the vocal fold is called the infraglottic part. So we have three parts: upper part, that is the vestibule of the larynx, which is above the vestibular fold, this whole area, and now between the vestibular and the vocal fold, this part here, that is called the ventricle of larynx, and below the vocal fold we have infraglottic part. The sinus of Morgagni or ventricle of larynx is a narrow fusiform cleft between vestibular and vocal folds. So the area between the vestibular and the vocal fold, this area is called the sinus of Morgagni. The anterior part of the sinus is prolonged upwards as a diverticulum. So we can see that the anterior part is prolonged upwards and it forms a diverticulum, and this extension is called saccule of larynx. That is projecting upwards. And the saccule contains numerous mucus glands that helps to produce the mucus secretion which lubricates the vocal folds, because vocal folds will be vibrating and the vibration is required for production of voice. So lubrication is required for this, and we have some glands in the saccule of larynx that produces mucus. Whereas in other areas of the larynx, the mucus production is seldom. So this is the area where you can see that the mucus is produced. Now let's see the muscles of the larynx. So it can be divided into two groups: extrinsic muscles and intrinsic muscles. So we can assume now the extrinsic muscles are the muscles which goes beyond the attachment of larynx, whereas intrinsic muscles are confined to the larynx. Let's talk about the intrinsic muscles. The muscles that are acting on the laryngeal inlet. So laryngeal inlet is this one. So muscles that closest to the laryngeal inlet are aryepiglotticus muscle. Aryepiglotticus muscle is the muscle which is connecting the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis, and when these muscles are contracting both sides, it can close the laryngeal inlet. This is the laryngeal inlet. Transverse arytenoid muscle, which is connecting the posterior surface of the arytenoid cartilage, and when they are contracting, the two arytenoid cartilage, they will come close with each other. That leads to again the closure of the inlet of larynx, and that can also adduct the vocal cords. So these are the transverse arytenoid muscle, can be seen in this. The next muscle here is oblique arytenoid. Oblique arytenoid are the muscles which are placed obliquely here. We can see that the oblique arytenoid is continuing as the aryepiglotticus muscle. Oblique arytenoid continues as the aryepiglotticus muscle. So the small part here is a oblique arytenoid. Oblique arytenoid. So they are originating from the arytenoid cartilage, and it is connected to the contralateral arytenoid cartilage. So it is connected, it is starting from one cartilage and it goes to the opposite cartilage, opposite arytenoid cartilage. Innervation is by inferior on the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is branch of vagus nerve, and the action is adducting the vocal fold. Adducting the vocal fold. We know that vocal fold is connected to the arytenoid cartilage posteriorly. So any movement of arytenoid cartilage, so here the movement is bringing the two arytenoid cartilages closer with each other. So when this muscle is doing that, along with the transverse arytenoid, you can see that the vocal fold, the gap between this, the glottis, is becoming very narrow, and they will approximate with each other. As we can see here, the vocal folds, they are almost closing. So this represents the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage, and this is a muscular process of arytenoid cartilage. And the muscle which is widening the inlet is thyroepiglotticus muscle. Thyroepiglotticus muscle is connected to the thyroid cartilage anteriorly and posteriorly to the epiglottis. So this muscle, when it is contracting, it can dilate, or it can widen the inlet of larynx. So another view where we can see the oblique arytenoid muscles, transverse arytenoid muscles also can be seen. The transverse arytenoid and the oblique arytenoid muscles can be seen here. Thyroarytenoid muscle. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Muscle that moves the vocal fold or the vocal cord. So this area is the vocal fold, vocal cord. Relaxing the vocal cords are the thyroarytenoid muscle. Now thyroarytenoid muscle is attached to the arytenoid cartilage posteriorly, anteriorly to the thyroid cartilage. So when this muscle is contracted, of course the vocal fold or vocal cord will be relaxed, because this is bringing the arytenoid cartilages anteriorly close to the thyroid cartilage. So this becomes loose. And the next muscle is vocalis muscle. Again, it has same function. It is attached to the vocal ligament and also anteriorly to the thyroid cartilage. So when it is contracting, it brings definitely the arytenoid and the vocal ligament little pulling it anteriorly, so that it loosens the vocal fold. Abducting the vocal fold. vocal cord. So abduction is when the two vocal fold, they are moving away from each other, and that's called abduction. Or you can see the rima glottis becomes larger, wider in this movement. That is done by posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. Posterior cricoarytenoid muscle is originating from the lamina of the arytenoid cartilage, and it is attached to the muscular process of the arytenoid cartilage. So it is starting from the lamina of cricoid cartilage, and it is attached to the muscular process of the arytenoid cartilage. So when this is contracting, what happens is that the arytenoid cartilage rotates laterally. So this is the muscular process, and this is the body of the arytenoid cartilage, and this is the vocal process. So if this is pulling from this side, of course the arytenoid cartilage rotates, and when the arytenoid cartilage, the body of the arytenoid cartilage, when it is rotating, of course the movement of the arytenoid cartilage moves in such a way that you can see that this is the vocal process that faces this region towards this becomes in this way. So that is called abduction. So again, in this picture you can see that this is contracting, and that pulls the muscular process this way, and the body rotates so that the vocal process position changes from here to this side laterally, and that is called abduction. Now here, when both the muscles are acting at the same time, you can see that the vocal process moves laterally in this way here, and here in this way. That leads to abduction. Cricothyroid muscle is a muscle that is connecting the cricoid cartilage to the thyroid cartilage. This figure is explaining the movements that is caused by the action of cricothyroid muscle. The action is lengthening or increasing the tension of vocal ligament. We know that the vocal ligament is attached to the arytenoid cartilage posteriorly and anteriorly to the thyroid cartilage. So any movement in this joint, that is cricothyroid joint, that is a joint between the cricoid cartilage and the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. So any movement in this joint can change the length of the vocal ligament. So let's see this. These dotted lines are representing the position of the thyroid cartilage after the action of cricothyroid. So when the cricothyroid muscle is acting, the thyroid cartilage moves anteriorly and downwards. So when it moves anteriorly and downwards, as we can see with this dotted lines, the thyroid cartilage is moving anteriorly and downwards. So because of that, the length of the vocal ligament increases. So this is a position of the vocal ligament when the muscle is not acting, but this is the position which is represented by the double double lines. This is representing the vocal ligament after the action of cricothyroid muscle. So this is how the cricothyroid muscle acts and increasing the tension of vocal ligament. When the length of the ligament is increasing, the tension also increases. So this is how the muscle looks from anteriorly, the cricothyroid muscle. Now the other action is adducting the vocal cords. So adducting the vocal cords, the two vocal cords come very close with each other. That's done by lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Lateral cricoarytenoid muscle is a muscle that is connected, or that is attached to the arytenoid cartilages, and posteriorly it is attached to the muscular process. So when this muscle is contracting, the arytenoid cartilage rotates in such a way that the vocal process goes medially. Process goes medially because the muscle is acting from or pulling the muscular process from front. So because of this pull, the arytenoid cartilage rotates on the cricoid cartilage and the vocal process moves medially. That causes adduction of vocal cords. So lateral cricoarytenoid muscle can be seen here in this picture. Arterial supply and venous drainage of the larynx. Up to the vocal folds, the superior laryngeal artery, which is a branch of superior thyroid artery, that supplies. So we can divide here the arterial supply above the vocal fold, that is by the superior laryngeal artery, which is a branch of superior thyroid artery. Superior thyroid artery gives a branch, that is superior laryngeal artery. The superior laryngeal veins that drains into superior thyroid vein. Superior laryngeal vein is draining into superior thyroid vein. That is the venous drainage above the level of vocal folds. Whereas below the level of vocal folds, the inferior laryngeal artery, which is a branch of inferior thyroid artery. Inferior thyroid artery can be seen here, and it gives a branch, that is inferior laryngeal artery. That is, the branch is not shown in this. And the inferior laryngeal vein that drains into inferior thyroid vein. Inferior thyroid veins are here. These are inferior thyroid veins. In fact, here it is seen, inferior laryngeal veins draining into inferior thyroid veins. Nerve supply. Again, we can classify into a motor and sensory nerve supply. All the muscles which move the vocal cords, abductors, adductors, or tensors, are supplied by a recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of the vagus nerve, except in the cricothyroid muscle. Cricothyroid muscle is supplied by superior laryngeal nerve. So this is the only muscle in the larynx which is supplied by superior laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve gives branches. The recurrent laryngeal nerve, which hooks around the subclavian artery on the right side and supplies the muscles of the larynx. But the cricothyroid is supplied by the external laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve, which is coming from the vagus nerve. So in fact, the vagus nerve is the one which is supplying the muscles. Coming to sensory, above the vocal folds, the larynx is supplied by internal laryngeal nerve. Internal laryngeal nerve, again, it's a branch of vagus nerve. Superior laryngeal nerve divides into internal laryngeal nerve and external laryngeal nerve. Internal laryngeal nerve supplies the inlet, the inner aspect of the larynx up to the vocal fold. Whereas below the vocal fold, the sensory supply is by recurrent laryngeal nerve. So recurrent laryngeal nerve is supplying the muscles here as well as the area of the larynx below the level of vocal fold. Lymphatic drainage is above the level of vocal fold. It is draining into deep cervical group of lymph nodes, especially antero-superior group. Whereas below the vocal fold, it is draining into the deep cervical lymph nodes, which are postero-inferior group, which are the lower deep cervical group of lymph nodes. And tracheostomy is a procedure where a hole is done in the trachea or the cricothyroid membrane in case of laryngeal obstruction. So a hole is made. So it's an emergency situation. So in emergency situations, we can put a hole in this area so that the person can survive for some time by giving some room for respiration.